Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for Weekend War, but first, it's time for a cast. So join us on Discord if you want to join our event, and other than that, let's get into it. It's SmrtyCakes versus looeye, and our first game will be on Cold Sweat, a map that is kind of a blast from the past. We got the dark green Terran in the top left here. That is going to be SmrtyCakes. And looeye is in the bottom right here. Oh man, I can't remember which orange he was. I think it was electric orange. There we go. All right. That's internally in my head, that's Inconsummate orange. That's the color that I used, more or less, for the heroes in Inconsummate. So SmrtyCakes is going to be playing Terra in this game. The second game, I already forgot the map name. It is on Near Impact. Okay. And that game is a game where he plays Protoss. So we are going to get a little bit of multiracial gameplay out of SmrtyCakes. And I feel like this is a good time as any to make the announcement that the iScript extender has seen actual pivotal progress to the point where, while it would just be disruptive to our current tech stack, it would be possible to just go ahead and plug it in right here, right now. And we are going to wait for a more elegant solution for the long term, because obviously we care about how much effort it takes to develop stuff and work within it. But just wanted to throw that announcement out there that we have achieved something that is actually demonstrable. And it may be another week or so before it's fully operational, but that does mean more units, including the fourth race, the Escozi, the much-awaited fourth race, and potentially more beyond that. We'll see. But it's a tremendous achievement. And shout out to Dark & Fantasies, Veek7X405, for helping to make it possible. All right. With all that said, it is time to talk about this game. We've got Shroud Opener from looeye. He is going Shroud first. Very exciting. He wants to go ahead and start using the Zor-Yustaleth. Say that 5 times fast. I can. Can you? Post a comment if you can say Zor-Yustaleth 5 times fast. That'd be great. We got Mavericks coming out here from SmrtyCakes. He is going to be well insulated versus this build. And, I mean, the fact that you go for a Larvosk behind it does slow the first Zor-Use, but it's a little bit more of a macro-oriented opener here somehow. I never thought I'd say something like that. No gas has been harvested. The Droleth has been burrowed behind the enemy lines. So that's kind of interesting. I guess if you go pure Maverick, you know, you consider the stim, the Rokor's kind of ensnare for a second. That's going to stop the stim from happening as much. Yeah, Zor-Use are pretty good movement versus bio. I actually quite like that as an option. Of course, the Zor-Use Rokor spawn that then ensnares is a little bit of a supercharged unit in that sense. It's got a lot of, you might describe it as overloaded if you were critical of the design. And so we're still kind of waxing and waning on whether or not we like that move. We are going to have an anchor be constructed here for the benefit of SmrtyCakes' defense. Nothing else, really. I usually just straight up building an anchor and then not really transitioning into anything else is a little bit risky, but he is going to go for a star pad. I say risky because it kind of puts you on a defensive posture very quickly. Zor-Use is going to get gunned down to below half health. Oh, much lower than that even. And there you go, the ensnare kind of showing itself, but only for a moment. It used to be 3 seconds, now it's only about 1 second. All right, so the one Zor-Use is not enough. He's got a second one. He is making a lake and expanding. So looeye is going to be doing his best to just hold on for dear life. Now, the Mavericks here in the anchor did not actually come with the army. It felt like SmrtyCakes was kind of drawn in. He's like, oh, I damaged your Zor-Use. I'm just going to run across the map now. Looeye wisely burrowing his unit because it does give you extra regeneration. So there is that as well. Now we are going to see the rise of the unit. Ah, hello. Suddenly. Zerg here. So he does end up focusing down the low HP one. Very wise. A couple of Rokors to ensnare and slow down the DPS on this Hacharosk. We do have 2 Likizilisk. I was going to say only 1, but there is the arrival of the anti-bio unit, the Likizilisk. Going to go ahead and step forward. Ooh, he might have stepped a little bit too forward, but surprisingly, partially because of no stim, we are going to see the Lakis get to go ahead and burrow. I feel like with stim, Smarty could have just outright won this game. If he stims there, he kills the Lakis, he kills probably the second Lakis. Like, stim DPS is absurd. And then what? You just got a couple Zor-Use. You got nothing coming in the pipe for units. So you are just kind of screwed at that point. Ministry on the way here for Smarty. He is going to look to expand as his push has been stymied. And yes, we have successfully witnessed looeye open Zor-Use, open Zorkish Shroud, right? And then hold versus aggression. And again, I still think that it's a little bit disingenuous to call it that way, because I do believe that a little bit of stim magic there from Smarty would have done the trick. But he's going to go ahead and go for a drop. So no defense in the main, just straight up a couple Kagrins. We are going to see the Circuith morph at the front line, and probably a second one, it looks like. Yep. So that's fine. Now, will he end up... No, he's not going to cycle his Lake is back in. I mean, it does take a little bit of divination to think, I could get dropped here. But I will point out that it usually is a little bit more attractive to go Stockade into Starpad than it is Stockade into Fulcrum when you've gone heavy Stockade first, because you already have this mineral dump that you're going to be using. So I'm going to go ahead and stim just for the scout and kind of like heckling the attention. The Trojan is on the way. We do have the Antseal and the Mavericks moving out as well. You do like to hit the front line at the same time as you hit the drop, but it looks like in this case, we are just going to see the drop unfold. What is the reaction from looeye? One of the things that you get when you open Zork's, which is more of a supportive node and not something that you get normally as a core thing, is that you don't really have that many units. And so, I mean, now he doesn't even have that many workers. Still within margin of error for a comeback, but definitely no longer in a even position. And losing that Larvos is going to be insult to injury. And then 7 out of 8 will end up getting away. So that is brutal. The Hydra then scouted. The workers disrupted. He's basically got one base of eco now. And, of course, not very much in the way of larva production, right? So the Avaleth is almost gunned down by the Mavericks in the middle. That's very, very dangerous. Scary situation there. I just had an idea. So there's this old, ancient little reference called Flag 16, which is the flag in sounds that says, hey, only play one of this at a time. And so for a while, you would not hear multiple Droleth mining sounds. And then I unticked that flag and did some treatment to the audio so it wouldn't be too overpowering. And then suddenly you could hear it all. And then obviously it was another generation of hearing every audio when you could get the... When you had the ability to be like, hey, here's my sound extender, here's my sound channel extender. We're all good there. And now you can hear as many sounds as you want, generally speaking. So I just had the thought that, you know, certain attack sounds in the game are the same sound file. Like the Zethercore attack, the actual hit sound is the same sound. It's not like a variant of another sound. There's not like a bunch of different sounds you can listen to. And so if you go through and randomize through a small list of variants, like if I made a couple that were just slightly pitch shifted up and slightly pitch shifted down, if I did that, then the game would actually play those sounds more frequently, because there is a cutoff that I think it's every 2 frames. You can't have the same sound file play within 2 frames of itself, right? And so I was wondering, would it be a sea of cacophony, an absolute disaster of noise, you know, hellscape sound set that could happen there? Oh no. Oh no, there's some idle workers here. Oh, they've been misclicked. Oh dear. Golly gee willikers, we have the Bactyls on the way. But yeah, I like the idea of... I do like the idea of kind of like maybe going in and updating the Maverick gun sound so that there's some slight variance. And then you just have like every single Maverick is actually playing its gun sound, even if they shoot at the same time. It wouldn't be every single one at the same exact time, but something like that could be kind of funny. Maybe I'll test it and see. I might get back to you guys on that. Maybe we'll go ahead and test that. But nonetheless, we are starting to see some advanced infantry come out from SmrtyCakes. He's got a couple add-ons for the healers, and he has his first Covenant. That will be where you can get Savants from. Looks like that's what he wants to do. You can see him kind of stationing units in the corners. He's been pretty active on the map. We saw him scouting out at the 6 o'clock earlier, or I guess that's 7 o'clock. The 2-base containment Zerg is not helping too much here. And, you know, I still say, you know, looeye is kind of rallying his units in the middle of nowhere. He still has the... Okay, he's finally fixed it. I don't know if, like, there's a... Yeah, I think he rallied a couple of workers or something and then just kind of forgot about them. That's what it looks like is happening. I was checking the default rallies with Alt and seeing if maybe I'm missing something obvious, but no. That is indeed where it is. So we are going to see a couple of bio units kind of glob up here. Let's see what Smarty wants to do going forward. We have the ski back done. There's going to be some Bactyls made. They are pretty good anti-bio units. At that point, I do feel like you kind of need to pivot into Phalanx. Or Eidolon, I guess, in theory. if you could keep your Eidolons alive, they could probably snipe down the Bactyls. That could be a good move. And of course, if you have like an ocean of Hurricans, that helps always. So there's a couple of different components you could take, but if you wanted to do the pure bio way, definitely switching into Eidolons would be a good move. We'll see if looeye can break the containment. This force is pretty dense, right? So there is that. We do have another Trojan attempting to drop on top there, so it is going to get all of its units out. Meanwhile, the frontal engagement looks okay. No stimmed Mavericks, though. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and get the stim out, and the sustain is going to be good. Now, a couple of Hurricans are still alive. It looks like the Spraith killed the Trojan before it could really do too much there. And so that is a pile of corpses with the Hurricans not really involving themselves. Yeah, actually, it looks like SmrtyCakes is able to hold with the Ancials and the Shamans together. Sort of hold the aggression from the Zerg. Kind of keep them contained. Now, these Hurricans obviously can't do anything by themselves. Ah! I've been found! I don't know what happened there. That's funny. Get him, Ahmed. Don't let that Savant steal your kill. I must get him. I must get him! Got him. Good job, Ahmed. Proud of you. All right, so I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, the Hydras, the Bactyls, the Zoryus, the Izira cores, this is all great for the Zerg to get in on the action. And the Ancials were actually drained of energy pretty quickly here. I wonder if it's because the Shamans weren't really deployed in the right area. A couple of Hurricans streaming on in. This is where you are going to need to fall back. looeye does need more of a front line. He's actually not that far behind in terms of economics. He's only got 7 workers to the worst of Smarty. And I guess 6 of them weren't mining. But the key thing here is that the third base is up and running, right? And so that definitely contributes. The drop antics. The second drop was much less successful, although I will still point out once again, we've just got Hurricans kind of chilling here, doing nothing. Also, this Circuit positioning does block return rates on that mineral field up top. So these two have to kind of go around, and you'd probably pop this one as a result of that. But nonetheless, looeye still sitting, bing chillin'. If that's still a thing the kids say. I think only John Cena says that, actually. And we are presumably going to see an expansion out of looeye. It's begun, boys. I'm starting to mispronounce names. It's over. Doldrums. The pool is nearly complete. And I feel like, as of right now, what I'm going to anticipate here, as the stockades continue... Oh my god, the stockades are continuing! I am going to anticipate that SmrtyCakes takes the economic advantage all the way to the bank and kind of closes us out here. That's sort of what I'm getting as a vibe from this game. We are going to see the Vornath pawn come up, and there is a nice little attack here at the third base, kind of catching some of the military here in the middle, although this force could just attack into that and probably clear it for looeye. He disrupts it, he forces a worker transfer. Big, immediate pull there from Smarty. Really good instincts. Not necessarily used to seeing that, so that's nice to see. A couple of Cyprians getting shellacked by Bactyls. Hey, you trade 1 for 1. That's not too bad. There's a Maverick in there, too. I don't know if he counts. It's kind of like saying you traded Quaz or something. There's so many of them, and they're so cheap. Some Zeths have been rolled on in. I guess these are supposed to be for Vorvs, because that's why the Vornath was made. Eidolons are starting to add up as well. That is going to eventually get to a point where you're going to want to see if you can, commit into that. Now, the Vorvs are close to hatching. They will end up reinforcing in the middle of this fight, which could actually be a nice swing for looeye, because the military count is pretty low, and the healer and support count is what's really there for Smarty. He might actually have to be forced back into a much more defensive posture as his front line starts to crumble. The Savants are shellacking non-stop, but it might not be enough. And the Shamans are going to go ahead and withdraw some of these units just on rally. Going to have to be refocused on back. We got 13 Masons not doing nothing. A couple of units not actually joining. Oh, most of these structures didn't seem to have rallies for some of their lifespan, so the military count was decidedly lower. That being said, that was just a great engagement for looeye. He had all of his Izir cores in the right spot, pretty much. The Vorvs kind of hatching in the middle of that fight. Maybe Smarty was feeling like, I can win this, and then, suddenly there are reinforcements on site, as the Zerg is wont to do. Ministry is going to go ahead and get focused down there. Good instincts by looeye. He's doing so at the expense of some of his front line here. Oh, and it narrowly ends up escaping with about 60 out. There's the repair. Clutch factor coming in, but the Ancial leaves the party, and that means that the stimmed Mavericks are going to basically be all on their lonesome. We got more units coming in from the right-hand side. We need to have more units from Smarty. He's floated 2k minerals, but he has not been able to replenish it. He has not spent his money. He has only repaired the Ministry, and looeye clutches out the victory in the first game. You know what? That proves it. Nerf Protoss. No, just kidding. All right, speaking of, let's go into the next game where we're going to see some PvZ action. Howdy ho, ladies and gentlemen. SmrtyCakes in the top left of Near Impact is the Ultramarine Protoss. And down here in the bottom right of Near Impact, map by Jujik, looeye is our Electric Zerg, or Electric Orange Zerg. Electric Zerg should be a color. That was a pretty interesting game. I like the match overall because of the fact that we do get to see some drop antics, some good containment, and, you know, throwing good units after bad in a couple of cases. I know Smarty is not the most, what would you say, like, familiar, I guess, with Terran. And so it totally makes sense to me that he would have some trouble there. I'm going to take a good old sip of coffee here while I muse on what we're going to see in this game. Because I'm expecting looeye to have to build something other than Shroud first. So it looks like we might just see a pool opener here and then see what he can contest with regarding the rest of things. No, it's actually a Hydrathen. Okay, very interesting. So we'll keep tabs on that build order as the first gateway comes down, but sip time! That was a bigger sip than I thought. I'm also saving one last big sip for later on. I like to, when I eat my food for the morning, it's usually yogurt, a yogurt bowl. And I take that yogurt bowl, and there's some good time to mix in like a sip of coffee before or after you have a bite of the yogurt. So just choice. Choice, lads. Choice. Live life on the yogurt side, I guess, is what I'm saying. Or maybe just only eat meat. Whatever you want. Whatever you want. Or maybe don't eat meat. Anything you want. I know what I want. I want Hydras! Maybe Smarty will eat Zerg. A Zerg-heavy diet. There were genuine questions from real people on the internet asking me if Terrans can cook Zerg. Why do they need to know that question? Why do they need to know the answer to that question? Write your own answer. That's what I say. Figure it out. I wouldn't consider them very edible, though. All right, looeye is going to go ahead and drop the hatch right here, right now. And we are going to end up seeing the Zealots, the Ecclesiast. Okay, it's going to be a more old-school gateway-oriented build here from SmrtyCakes. I have been seeing a lot more Drakodons. Aziracore going to be waddling out. Isn't this a Chad walk cycle? Come on, guys. He's like... I aspire to make walk cycles like that. Fast Nexus from Smarty. Okay, he's kind of expecting that we're not going to see too much from looeye's early aggro. Which, you know, we can see that that's actually a good call. So it kind of reminds me of that game that looeye played recently that we casted against Steven. Where there was one of those matches on Impulsion where he was just like, I guess I'll go ahead and expand. And then the other guy was like, I guess I'll go ahead and expand. And they kind of just handshook. Like, yep. Not too much early aggro needed. Aziracore constantly being parried here. We do have more units coming out, so it stands to reason the Aziracore would take some more hits. Hydras are looking pretty good, though. The Hydra count should be enough to deal with this. We got more on the way as well. Good saturation of minerals here for a Zerg player in the early game. Definitely could use a couple more. But as a rule of thumb, in the early stages of the game, if you can get away with having 14 workers on every base you have for minerals, that's pretty good saturation. Obviously, you want to factor in a little bit more if you can when it comes to gas. And it's okay to go over that number, but the most efficient you're going to be is 14 workers. And then everything else from there, it would be more efficient on another base. Broadly speaking. That's assuming it's 7 mineral fields. So if you're ever wondering when I'm like, oh yeah, this is a good count, that's because I'm selecting this and I'm seeing there's actually 12 because I selected a gas worker, but you know, you could use 2 more and then you'd be ready to start waypointing all new workers over to the natural. A little bit of facts for you. Aziracore going to help bounce the shield damage down, putting all the shield regen on cooldown. One Zealot does get claimed. The Ecclesiasts running away, as well as the Zealots for that matter, but the Ecclesiasts are much less durable than the Zealots. This small little skirmishing force, I actually think that to some degree SmrtyCakes could have just won an engagement front on. And you can see he's got a much better situation over here as he's attempting to engage onto the Hydras. But he's spreading his damage a lot, and he still hasn't killed the Aziracores. I know they're pretty tanky boys, but let's see. It's going to be double gate into an embassy. Oh, there you go. Pop both Aziracores. The Ardent Authority now finished. So we are going to end up seeing some action from that. Could be in a Cantor. if he was worried about an immediate hold. It looks like it will be an Acantor. Oh, I see. The embassy is for the envoy. Okay, so he's going to go for an Acantor drop here. Smarty being cheeky. He does like his cheeky action. The Acantor drop could be very deadly. You could target the workers, which is probably what we're going to see. Could also target those Larvosks. They're clumped up very, very nicely. That makes your macro a little bit easier and your rally is a little bit cleaner, but you got to concern yourself with whether or not splash damage is going to be deployed against you. Now, this Hydra count is absolutely off the chain. 15 Hydras running straight down after those Protoss units. They are going to go ahead and arc upwards a little bit. I like the idea of them kind of running a different direction while you wait for your second Acantor to finish. But it looks like it's just going to be a seesaw of units kind of going back and forth. The push and pull. No static defense erected. And maybe the first Acantor is going to be for defense, actually. Yeah, it looks like SmrtyCakes has changed his plans. He doesn't want to risk not having an Acantor for emergency defense versus the Hydras. It is on the ramp. First shot is going to be a dud, but... Oh, actually, they almost arced right into it. Ooh, catch! It's dodgeball. All right, they need to not step too far away from that ramp, otherwise we are going to get some trouble here. Oh, boy. Is looeye just going to go ahead and take the dub here? He's going to pick another worker. Oh, he's getting a little bit tied up around this Nexus. We're going to need to see Smarty try to defend this, but it doesn't look like he will be able to. Yeah, the Nexus is going to go down. The Hydra spam maybe catching him by surprise. Counter damage is available to him. I don't think you can breach the ramp here. Good luck. He's trying. He's trying. He's a bold man, but that is not going to end up too well for him. Ooh! Bopped on the way out. So we could get another envoy, and then we could just get double drop, you know, Neblime style. But it looks like for now we are just going to end up seeing a reset. Yeah, he's going to go Zealot Acantor. That is not a bad combo. That is very, very strong. Because you get the Zealot out there to kind of distract any units that might otherwise just immediately snap down at the Acantor. And you can immediately just do counter punch damage. So looeye should be feeling very good here, but when you see the Acantor, you got to think, is he going to drop me? And that would explain why there's not that many gateways, therefore there's not that many gateway units, you know, stuff like that. No static defense at the front line, either to slow things or to kind of funnel the Zerg into a spot that's more appropriate and advantageous for the Acantor. Now, the Envoy not going to scout that other base, was hugging the side of the situation there. There you go. Pretty fast burrow, not bad there. He's going to go ahead and try to focus down this Kagran before it can finish up, which is good. That is really good, because then now you've got a way out. Ooh, I love the fadeaway shot to splash down some of those Hydras. Not going to be too significant, of course, but another Zealot just kind of waypointing in here to see what it can do. I wonder if that was by intentionally or not, but Hatros going to get pressured down there. He's just going to leave the one Zealot attacking it, kind of... Oh, I like this. This is pretty cheeky. Yep, he's just going to go ahead and pick another worker. Pick the Kagran. Going to need to scoop that up and fall on back. Yeah, this is really cheeky. He's definitely getting some value out of it. Now, he does have a lot of money back floated, right? So there's that as well. Another base coming down. It looks like that's where the next envoy with the Acantor is going to go. Not going to be canceled on this one, which is good. He holds his nerve. Some players would not do that. Uh-oh, unfortunately, it looks like this Acantor is not long for this world. Smarty caught slipping back at home, waiting for that Nexus to finish, continuing to make Acantors, and now switching into some Drakidins, which is a good move. They're pretty powerful. Let's see, the Acantor could come in here and do some heckling versus the, like, right beneath the Geyser and Ridge. I think the circuits would still reach it. Yeah, at least one of the circuits would still reach it, but you got to watch out for that, because you could just kind of dodge the shot with the Envoy loading. Ah, okay, it's going to be Engrams here. Engram and Wardens. Cantor's continuing to do their best. Remember, there is that second Envoy down in the 6 o'clock position. Might just end up catching this base as it's being saturated. He's actually hoping to do just that. Not bad, you know, you snipe 2 Kagrans immediately. That is 2 worker kills. Plus a little bit extra, right? Ooh, filth. Filth! He wants to use the cliff advantage. Nerf that man! Also, I don't know what happened here, but that's a bug tile. Kagr should not be spreading there. More and more Droleths. looeye all over the place. What can he do? He's actually kept his money down pretty low, although his gas is absolutely absurd. Waypointing a bunch of Hydras around. I think his opportunity to just kind of go across the map and kill his opponent is definitely fallen. So he's going to need to think about what to do next. He is still very much ahead in terms of the economy. So Smarty's not looking too hot in this position. That was a shocker. 4-base Zerg, very, very strong. I mean, doesn't have very great saturation here. Ah, Neblime's favorite tier 2 position. Actually, his favorite would be like right here. Or maybe right here. I kind of want to do that. I kind of want to... I can't harvest gas in these meme games that I do where I only build mineral-only comps. I went 8-0 earlier. Pretty good. I'm going to brag about that for a few casts because I record them out of order sometimes, so enjoy that. But one of the things that I would love to do is... I've been doing like proxy hatch or like offensive hatch. And I love the idea of just coming in and being like, Here's my Iral Iris. It's a good idea. Very good idea. Offensive Atlas. And then lift it for tanking or something. All right, so we do, of course, have a good amount of workers now for looeye. He is about to hit tier 2. The Envoy goes deep, but it doesn't actually have anything in it. It's just a scout. And you know what? Eat that, Nablime. It doesn't scout tier 2 because it was in the natural. Absolutely smoked by the superior strategies. Second Ardent. We got Gates. We got Crucible. We got Pylons on the extremities. Love it. Get him that vision. No Nexus at the 11 o'clock just yet, so... Whoop. Shut down! 21 Izira cores. My man. Chad. I can't say Chad 21 times, but I would. If I was not recording this for 10,000 viewers, I would. I like the idea of adding a rogue gallery in just for the charlatans. The charlatan Akantor synergy is absolutely just absurd. You can still beat it if you go for Bactylisks or if you go for some other longer range unit that can kind of play around the extremities. Or actually, this kind of composition would pretty much heavily die to like a mass muta switch. Because if you think about it, there's only the Dracodons and Ecclesiasts for anti-air. Acantors are anti-ground. Charlatans do help versus air, but you can just snipe them. No Cantavis, so no Storm. And of course, Zealots are not going to help out either. Now, this is a pretty big force for Zerg. Rolling on in, the 21 Izira cores, not quite with the party just yet. The Hydras along the bottom have been routed. And so that is going to be a... Macro Akantor is a legit build, and I love seeing it because it is very, very goofy when they slowly crawl across the map. I love that there's a witness here as well. Could send that witness a little bit deeper behind enemy lines, but doesn't want to just yet. Alkag Teth on the way. Looks like the Tethvid Swamp as well. Probably wants to turn some of those Izira cores into Tethzora cores. But it also gives you access to the Bactyls. Yep, there you go. Teths did get a bit of a buff after the Acropolis 2 patch, so interested in seeing them there. Tier 2 defenses. Good move, good move. Not a bad move, not a bad move. All right, so what are we going to see for... Like, one of the things I noticed is players will make an active attempt at expanding, and then they won't expand anymore. It's not like a consistent thing they do. They just have a stage where they're like, all right, I should take 3 or 4 bases, you know? And then they do that. All right, Tethzora cores are out. They're beefy boys. I don't know that they'll stand up too well against Akantor shots. Sustained fire like that. Oh, nice! I love the dodge! They're going to get on top there and not really going to be able to hold up to all that might. But you know what? They're doing a lot better than you would think versus all that damage. There's so much damage. And now the Bactylis count is out of control. We do need to see some kind of frontliners absorb some of the shots here for the Bactyls. I think we are going to see the Protoss army get wiped here. Yeah, looks like it. Macro Akantor not able to hold up to the almighty Bactylisk, and it looks like that is Jeej. SmrtyCakes will fall. looeye taking the game, taking the series 2-0. We can pretend it was a best of 3. I think it actually technically was, but the replay didn't survive one of the other games or something, so sad. But hey, we got to see some pretty cool games. I think that Smarty was a bit on the greedy side when he went for the faster expansion, and then off of only 2 gate went Ardent Embassy. Because if you get a 3rd gate up or you get some static defense up, either way, you have to slow that Embassy and the Ardent Authority. But if you were to do that, you'd be in a much more defensive posture. The whole game looks different. Basically, if you don't lose the Nexus, right? And that sounds like an obvious move to say in retrospect, but I think he actually would have been in a really good spot because his Akantor didn't really do that much damage, and he was still open to a counterattack from looeye, which I neglected to mention in the moment. I was busy talking about other very important things. So I leave it to you, the viewer, to decide if that's true. GG's. We will be back with some more exciting action. And hey, remember, later today, as of the upload date, we are going to have some Weekend War action. So join us on the Discord server for that. donate on Coffee if you can and want to. It will help support development, and we can, of course, celebrate the iScript extender. So, yeah, very exciting stuff. More news on that later. And until then, GG.